Caller, you're on the Troll Patrol. What's going on, my friend?
Hello, Justin. Hello, my name is DM. I actually came on the show because some people from another server thought I should come on and debate you at some point. And I thought I'd start by just calling in and asking, are you ready to see the Democrats lose in November?
Oh, I mean, what do you mean by the Democrats lose?
So I'm a right-wing libertarian. I'm not on the conservative bandwagon per se. I'm a right-winger where I kind of believe more Republican economically, but am more democratically social when it comes to things like LGBT issues. But from what I'm seeing, it looks like the Democrats are in for a shellacking this November. Especially in some of the major swing states like Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, specifically Arizona, which you have on your paper. This
okay. So in Pennsylvania, Fetterman is up like 7 points right now, and Shapiro is running away with it. Like he's up like 12 or 13 points. So what indication do you have
for a second? Let's not look at the polls because I don't trust the polls. I don't believe in the polls. As Alan Lick, what's the guy's name? The guy who predicts elections. He always says don't look at the polls. I don't look at the polls. I look at what's going on. Do you really believe that Fetterman, someone who literally cannot even speak at all, I mean, he needs a computer to be able to speak. Do you think this guy's actually going to win and be able to work in the Senate?
Okay, so what you're saying is please remove the empirical data that we have to work with and operate on your feelings. Is that what do I have you correct on that one?
No, you don't have me correct on that one. I asked you a question. I'm asking why do you think Fetterman, someone who literally
hold on. So you told me that the Democrats were in for a shellacking. I presented the evidence, which is polling. And then you're like, no, take out the empirical evidence that you have. I want you to just talk about my feelings. And I don't do that.
Let's talk about the polls for a second. If you look at 2016 and you look at a lot of the elections, like let's use the Wisconsin election, the Ron Johnson election in Wisconsin in 2016. Ron Johnson was behind in the polls in 2016. He won by more points than the polls set up. The polls have a margin of error. They typically underestimate Republicans. It's been proven time and time again in every election. Every election that we've seen so far, the polls have been wrong.
I don't think that's because, like, in Nevada, Harry Reid always polled far behind what he actually came out. Like, polling can be off, but it's a good gauge. You can't just, like, throw it completely out. Like, in 2016, if you want to take the presidential election, like, the New York Times had like a 96% chance of Hillary Clinton winning, but just because the 4% chance thing happens doesn't mean that the polls were wrong. It just means that the thing that only had a 4% chance of happening happened, which was it needed to fall like 3 specific states, and it was all within a margin of like 100,000 votes or something like that. It was a freak occurrence. And that happens. Like, you have to allow for that in statistics.
All right, so I'm following the way that I predict elections. So I don't use the polls. So do you know who Alan Lichtman is?
So how do you predict elections then? If you don't use any kind of polling, then is it just
what you call it?
I don't know who Alan Lichtman is, and I don't like talking about personalities and he said she said bullshit.
It has nothing to do with it. So there's something called the keys to government, the keys to the White House every presidential election. Don't look at the polls. You look at what's going on in the country.
This is that dude that's predicted like all the presidents, like going back to like the fucking like 78 or some shit, 76.
No, so Alan Lichtman has predicted almost every election since.
That's what I just fucking said.
He's predicted accurately. So what I'm saying is, right now, if you look at the keys to what's going on in our country right now, Democrats do not have the gains. The economy is in shambles. The border is wide open.
Whoa. Okay. First of all, what do you mean that the economy is in shambles?
I mean, okay, first of all, look at all of the prices that are going up. Gas prices are going up everywhere. Prices on goods are going up everywhere. The supply chain is struggling, and also I should also mention I work in the supply chain, so I know the supply chain is struggling.
Okay. Hold on. the first thing that you need to not do with me is say, I do this, so believe me about this, because I'm gonna laugh at your stupid ass. I don't do anecdotes. I don't. Because if you say like this is happening and I have no way of falsifying it, it does us absolutely no good in a debate. That's why it's logically fallacious.
Okay,
I don't accept that as evidence.
Let's look at gas prices. How much have gas prices risen since Trump got out of office? How much has it risen, and why do you think it's risen as high as it has?
There's a number of factors.
I'm asking you just a question.
There are a number of factors as to why gas prices. First of all, we had a boon because of gas price futures it started in the Obama administration. Obama was very fertile ground for these small-time rigs to get into natural gas production. So over the course of the 2010s, they started really pumping out natural gas based on the futures market. When COVID hit and the price of gas plummeted, a lot of these small-time rigs pulled back. OPEC reexerted its dominance, and these small-time rigs aren't likely to reinvest because the future isn't looking as bright as it was during the mid-2010s. So that's probably a more nuanced answer than what you were looking for.
Okay, let me ask you this. If the pandemic is what you're claiming to have caused the issue, the pandemic was going on through most of 2020. When Trump left office, gas prices were under $3.
When Obama left office, look, in February of 2016, the gas prices were like $1.24. That was like the national average. Do you give Obama credit for those gas prices?
I give any president credit for what's going on in the country, yeah. Obama, what does that have to do with what I'm asking now? I'm asking about the gas prices now, not during Obama.
Well, okay, here's one of the
over $5.
So here's one of the things that I always try to impart on.
Are you high right now?
Oh, I'm very high, and I'm trying to pack a bowl as well. But here's one of the things that I try to impart on my audience is that to the extent that the presidents have an effect on the economy, it takes a couple of years. Would you agree?
That depends. I mean, I'm not talking about just the president. I'm also talking about the Congress, the massive spending bills spending money that we didn't need to spend, also canceling Keystone Pipeline and the war.
Oh my God! Well, okay. First, hold on. If I prove you don't know what you're talking about with the Keystone Pipeline, will you never say that again?
No.
Who owned the Keystone XL pipeline? That's what you're referring to. You're referring to the Keystone XL.
But
pipeline.
I wasn't.
Who
done
owns
with
it
anyway?
Who owns it? Who owns the Keystone XL pipeline? Do you know?
TC Energy.
The Canadian company, yes.
Yeah.
Do you know what the?
Does that help?
What kind of oil did the Keystone Pipeline ship?
You're interrupting me a lot. Maybe you should do this one.
Let me ask it. I like to take things like and break them down, right? So you brought up Keystone. So what was the Keystone shipping?
I brought up Keystone.
What was Keystone shipping?
They were shipping fossil fuels into the country.
What kind of fossil fuels? A specific kind. It was a Canadian company shipping Canadian tar sands. Do you know what tar sands are?
Oil.
Yeah. It's like tar sands are like the absolute hardest to refine. Do you know where they were shipping them to?
Where were they shipping them to?
China. The Keystone XL pipeline was, one, not in service. was a Canadian pipeline meant to ship tar sands to China. Now, how does that have any effect on our energy?
Where's your evidence to prove to back that up?
Look it the fuck up, dude, if you don't believe me.
The Keystone Pipeline.
You just looked it up. You just looked it up, and it was a Canadian company. I was correct on that, right?
No, it was not made to. It was never intended to take oil to China. I don't know what you're smoking.
No, it was meant to ship tar sands to China for refinement.
It was never.
Look
made
it up.
I just did look it up. And it's telling me no. The Keystone was never intended to take oil to China.
Keystone XL. That's what you're referring to. That's the one Biden canceled.
Yeah,
not the Keystone, which is currently still in operation.
I just looked it up.
So where was it shipping? Where was it shipping tar sands?
It was shipping.
Where was it
Keystone
proposed?
was never intended to take oil
Where
to
was
China.
it proposed?
Meant to take Canadian crude to the complex U.S.
Through the Gulf.
Yeah, it was the Gulf Coast. They take it to the Gulf, down to the Gulf Coast is what it's telling me right
to ship to China.
Keystone, it says here, Keystone was never intended to ship to China. And this is coming from Reuters, by the way, which is a
Reuters.
Reuters.
It is not a left-wing fact checker. It is a news service. I think you don't know what you're talking about.
Left-wing. I know they're left-wing.
They're not left-wing. They are a news service.
Yeah, they are.
It's Reuters, and they're like the AP. They are a news service. They are incredibly impartial.
Yeah, no, they've actually made up a lot of things, but...
Like what?
This one,
you like to make a lot of fucking claims, and you don't know what you're talking about, dude. What is Reuters, which you didn't even know the name of? What have they made up?
Stuff about the 2020 election. Stuff about the 2000 Mules documentary that came out. Stuff about the fraud
2000 Mules is 100% made up, right?
In what way? How is
everything about that movie is bullshit.
When you show actual evidence, you can't rebuttal it. You can't rebuttal evidence.
Like what evidence, dude? Like we have like
they were showing video evidence of people bringing massive amounts of ballots.
That has been debunked. That has been adjudicated in court and laughed out of the place.
Then debunk it now. If it's been debunked, debunk how hardcore evidence, video evidence of something that's actually happening on video is false.
Well, first of all, you are taking video and interpreting it as something that it's not. So you're talking about the Georgia, what county was it, right?
Well, they showed videos from multiple places, but we could talk about Georgia. They showed a video from both the 2020 election and one from the runoff election. And the runoff election.
Now, am I just going to show you the fact check, and you're going to say, and I'm going to show you the workers and what they said in court, and you're just going to say, oh, that's left-wing bullshit? Because if so, what's the use of talking to you?
I'm asking you, how do you prove actual video evidence, video evidence of things that are actually caught on
How do you know? How do you know what you saw on video in a Dinesh D'Souza movie is factual?
Well, you have to prove that it's not factual. How can you prove?
No, that's not how claims works. If you make the claim, and by the way, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. So if you're going to make the claim that all of these elections...
Have you seen the movie?
I have not seen the movie, and I have no plans on seeing the movie.
Then how do you know it's false if you haven't seen it?
Because Dinesh D'Souza... That is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. Dinesh D'Souza... Do you know about Dinesh D'Souza's criminal record?
I don't.
Did you know he has been convicted of election fraud?
Where?
He was funneling money to the Republicans on behalf of like Ann Coulter or Laura Ingraham.
So in what way? What was the money? How was the money being used?
He was skirting the campaign donation limits to candidates.
So you're donating.
He is a convicted fucking felon.
So donating money equals election fraud? How does that work? How does donating money to candidates equal election fraud?
because he wasn't allowed to donate more than... He is a convicted felon for this, dude. And what, like, how can you tell me that Routers is biased, and then you're like, I should believe Dinesh D'Souza, paid Republican operative since the fucking 90s that was banging Laura Ingraham and Ann Coulter? Why would it? Why? Right-wingers are the dumbest fucks, man.
Listen,
so I'm not
video evidence.
No. How do you know the video you were watching? Because Dinesh D'Souza is the one that's telling you how to interpret this video, right? So if I show you the campaign workers saying, no, that's not what happened, and I show you the court documents that say that is not what happened at all, will you believe it?
Yeah, no, I won't, because it's just words on paper versus video physical evidence. There's physical evidence has more...
You're an idiot.
Has more... No, I'm not.
Yes, you are an absolute fucking moron. You are a rube that gotten taken advantage of by right-wing propaganda, and I feel sorry for you. But let's talk about your libertarian beliefs. How would you classify being a libertarian?
So I would classify that as being someone who does not want to criminalize certain issues that don't harm other people. Like, as other Republicans, a lot of Republicans are anti-trans, anti-gay, anti-LGBT. I look at those people and I say, why do we make that an issue? Why can't you just let people do what they want and actually focus on the economic issues and the issues that actually are for the people? For example, I went to an event and I listened to a Republican speak, and I'm not going to vote for him. I'm voting for the Democrat in my district assembly because he did this. But he went on stage and his whole speech was about how trans people exist, and I'm like, okay, how does that affect me in any way, shape, or form? I think the libertarian movement, whether it's right wing or left wing, steps away from these social issues that really don't harm anybody.
Well, good. I want to talk about the issues that do harm things and the libertarian process that I think harms things. So, say 3M is a company that's right down the road from me, and they spilled a shit ton of chemicals into the Tennessee River. How would I take recourse against 3M?
I would say, one, they should be charged for that if they're just. I don't think that's even legal. I don't think they can even do that. If they did that, there should be some sort of punishment for that.
Oh, I agree, sir. So what recourse is there for that? And it's not if they did it; they did do it.
I'd say take them to court. Take them to court. Have them do whatever the court tells them to do, whether it be fine, jail time.
Well, I'm assuming you're against the EPA.
I don't really follow what is that?
The Environmental Protection Agency.
I'm not against the EPA. I'm not against not protecting the environment. I'm not saying I'm not against protecting the environment. I'm for it.
Okay, fair enough. Then let's talk about economics then. What's your thoughts on tax policy?
On tax policy, I think that all taxes should be everyone should pay the equal percentage of taxes. I believe in a flat tax. I believe that everyone should pay equal percentage of their income in taxes. I don't believe in
flat tax is the opposite of paying your equal percentage in income.
Well, I don't believe in getting rid of income tax. We'll say that. I don't believe in getting rid of just cutting taxes because I think that when you cut taxes, you could take money away from things that actually need it. One of my more liberal viewpoints, despite me being mostly right-wing on a lot of issues, another one of my more liberal viewpoints is I don't think we put enough money into our healthcare system. So I would actually want to spend some more tax money in certain areas. But again, I don't.
We should have a single-payer system, and we would save money. We should have a single-payer system, and we'd save money. All the studies show that. That's why every other industrialized country has a single-payer system. Because the way insurance works is it's the cheapest when everybody's in the pool because it disperses risk, and then the single payer can negotiate. And I'm sorry, not all industrialized countries have single payer. They have some form of universal health care that usually has a predominantly single payer. there are a lot of mixed systems in France and the UK and such.
Well, look, we need to do something about it because we have a lot of problems with our healthcare system, and there's a lot of people who don't.
I
want
just
to do
told you
anything
what we
about
should
it.
do
One
about
of them
it.
is the monopoly. Well, I also would like to ask you another question. What do you think we should do about the hospital monopolies, the big corporations that are taking up, like, say, Upper Wisconsin? Like, all the hospitals up in Wisconsin are owned by either one or two companies.
Nationalize them.
I'd agree with that.
Well, how are you a libertarian? I think you don't know what libertarian actually means. And also, like, since you brought up libertarian, let's actually get down to libertarian philosophy. Do you know what the problem of initial just acquisition is?
No.
Okay, so Robert Nozick, the father of modern libertarian thought, this was his critique of libertarianism. So a contract can't be valid unless there was initial just, okay, like, so trading property back and forth, if somebody stole it initially and then sold it to somebody else, it doesn't matter how many times it's changed hands, the contract is not valid. There had to be initial just acquisition of that property to begin with in order to be fair in a libertarian society. Would you agree with that?
No, I wouldn't agree with that. So maybe I'm not a libertarian then. What would you define me as? From what I said and what I defined as what I thought libertarian was, what would you define me in my politics as then?
Okay. If you were playing Monopoly, you would get upset if somebody didn't give you your 2 500s, your 2 100s, your 5 20s. I don't remember what all it is all the way down, but it's something to that effect, right? If you didn't get your money at the beginning of the game, and everybody didn't start with equal property, and you didn't get your $200 every time you pass go, that would be awfully unfair, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be unfair.
So, to me, being a libertarian is like starting Monopoly. Some people have a whole bunch of property. Some people have a whole bunch of money. Other people have, like, fucking nothing. Other people are in the fucking hole from the start. And if you don't have some sort of way to level that out, then libertarianism doesn't work. And it just ends up with these big corporations wielding unruly power over us.
All right, well, maybe I'm not a libertarian then. Maybe I've confused libertarianism for something else.
Okay, fair enough. It's okay. I don't know.
I mean, my stance was I agree with right wingers on a lot of economic issues and
like what,
and, other policy different issues, but like one, I'm an anti-globalist. I'm a
what
U.S.
does that
nationalist.
mean? Okay, first of all, I'm going to alert you something that you probably don't know. When people say globalist, that's kind of like a Nazi dog whistle for Jew.
I don't buy into that.
What's been the dominant conspiracy theory over
I'll give you an example
last 2 centuries?
Of globalism, like right now. I'll give you an example of globalism right now is the fact that we have a Washington, not just Democrats, Republicans too, that are pushing us towards nuclear war over getting involved in a conflict that doesn't actually benefit the U.S. in any way, shape, or form, and in fact actually hurts us more and possibly gets us into conflict with Russia. That's the kind of thing that when I say globalism. I don't want...
How is the U.S. pushing us into this conflict?
So since we should have stayed, first of all, we should have stayed out of Ukraine to begin with. We should have never been in Ukraine. I mean,
we're not in Ukraine. We're not in Ukraine. You're talking about the logistical and military support that we have endowed them with, correct?
Yes, we shouldn't get involved in this conflict at all. We should have stayed out of it completely. I mean, it started out with Joe Biden putting sanctions on Russia, stopping oil imports, which hurt gas prices even more, I should mention. But it goes further than that. Right now, Ukraine has signed an application to join NATO. That's what Russia doesn't want. If Ukraine joins NATO, then we are likely going to be in war with Russia. How does that benefit the U.S. in any way, shape, or form?
Do you know about all the weird alliances that are going on because of the oil deposits in the Caspian Sea? this has a lot to do with Georgia and Russia backed the separatist movement in Georgia, and the U.S. backed the Georgian state, and like they've been at a standstill in a conflict. Then there's the Azerbaijan and Armenian conflict, where we back Armenia and Azerbaijan is aligned with Iran, but also kind of in conflict with. It's a really weird situation going on. And do you know about all of that shit?
No, I haven't really heard much about it from the news. Not really.
So, like, the Caspian Sea is landlocked. So they have to run pipelines through Georgia, which is if Georgia was to fall to Russia, we wouldn't have any way to run pipelines from the Caspian Sea. See, like, you seem so concerned about pipelines and gas on the market, but yet you don't know about the very tenuous relationship that we have with the Caspian nations, and why we're at conflict with Russia in this proxy war in Ukraine. Do you think it's good to have such strong opinions about things that you might not know that much about?
I mean, I'm literally hearing what I hear on the news and what the American people are hearing in general. You know, I'm viewing this from a voter's perspective, not from a politician's perspective.
First of all, our news in this country is woefully inadequate. People, like, they've even done studies that show.
I'm not running for anything. I'm not saying I know every detail. I'm looking at how I would vote and how I'm seeing what's going on in the country from what I'm hearing on the news, from what I'm hearing, from what I'm experiencing as myself. As you said, you don't care about that because you don't want anecdotal. But when it comes to what you also experience in your own work,
well, how can you experience yourself about what's going on in Baltic nations?
Because no one talks about that. Where do I hear about this on the news? Where do I hear about? That's not what I hear about. I hear about war in Ukraine, war with Russia, and possibly nuclear war with Russia if we keep threatening Putin. I mean, the president of Ukraine was literally threatening and saying that they wanted Vladimir Putin dead. I mean, that's playing with fire. I mean, I don't support Putin either.
I have no idea what you're talking about. And
the president of Ukraine threatened Vladimir Putin, said that he wanted to take him out. Zelensky. They showed it on Fox News. They showed the tape of it. My God. They showed it on Tucker Carlson tonight.
Is it possible that Tucker is trying to get you to have a certain viewpoint?
No, because he actually shows physical evidence, like video evidence of things. And again, as I said before,
okay.
No.
The whole thing I just explained to you about the Baltic nations and how our gas lines run through Georgia and shit. That's the only country we can run them through because this is the only country that is aligned with NATO. And that's a lot of what this Ukraine shit is over, because Ukraine's up here above Georgia. If you don't know any of that, then taking what Tucker Carlson says as gospel and running with it is doing a disservice to facts, because you don't have the full context of everything. Tucker has a narrative to push.
Well, again, I mean,
so what happens? What happens if Ukraine falls to Russia?
Then Russia takes over that country.
But you don't understand the implications on the global oil market then.
Again, my point is, should we be threatening somebody who is willing to and has the power to just obliterate a country? Should we be playing with that kind of fire? I mean, I'm not saying I agree with Putin. I don't agree with Putin. I think he's terrible. But why would we want to threaten somebody who has the power to literally, if he nuked New York, that would nuke almost the entire country. Like, nuclear war means death. Like, we'd lose.
Okay, fair enough, but
world
you're
would be
kind
destroyed.
of the one that's, you know, fear-mongering here. You're the one that keeps bringing up nuclear war, and I'm talking about the strategic alliance. You're asking why, and I'm explaining. I'm explaining to you that, one, I can't remember the percentage of the world's oil and natural gas that it then covers when if they were to take over Ukraine, and then Georgia falls, and that's where they run the only pipeline they have from the Caspian Sea. That's the reason why Ukraine is such an important strategic alliance for the U.S. I'm explaining it to you. You act like Ukraine falling doesn't. And now I personally am probably more inclined to say we have given them too much money, but I understand why we're doing it. And I understand the implications of if Ukraine was to fall.
All right, but again, that's still bypasses my point. Is why are we verbally threatening someone who could literally destroy the world? Is my question. Again, I get what you're saying. If that's the case, then fine, I get it. But again, why are we verbally just out there in the open threatening a world leader who has the power to legit nuke most of the world, who could literally just if we get into World War III, that's the world could literally be destroyed. I mean, that's the truth of nuclear war. That's what nuclear war is. It's not going to be like other wars. Like, most of us will be dead if Putin decides to send a nuke to the U.S. Whether it be New York, that's going to affect. That's going to go all the way through most of the country. It would be devastating, and we're just openly threatening Vladimir Putin. I'm
not exactly sure what you mean. We're openly threatening Vladimir Putin.
They showed video of Zelensky right out there in the open saying, "We want to take out Vladimir Putin."
I don't know that that's what he said. I don't know that you're not taking that out of context. I don't trust you, to be honest with you. I don't know what you're talking about to say yes you're right, no you're wrong. I've seen no evidence that we, the United States, are openly taunting Vladimir Putin. It's actually been Putin.
Well, let me ask you this: what happened with that pipeline that blew up under the water? Who did that?
I don't exactly know, and I've covered that here on this show. I take things with
the Biden administration saying that we are going to end that pipeline.
I have played what Blinken said about that pipeline. I have played Tucker Carlson saying exactly what you were saying and put it in context. Because I don't trust Tucker Carlson. I don't trust the U.S.
I mean, because Russia wouldn't nuke their own pipeline. That's what people are saying everywhere.
And I agree.
Russia wouldn't do that. Who did it? I mean,
okay, hold on.
I'm not saying Biden did it.
Shush. Ukraine says Zelensky's preventative strike call misinterpreted as Moscow fumes. Kyiv says the president was referring to economic sanctions, while Russian officials accuse him of calling to start a world war. So Ukraine went into damage control mode after remarks by President Vladimir Zelensky were interpreted as him calling for the West to take preventative strikes against Russia. Zelensky spoke Thursday via video link to the Sydney-based Lowy Institute, saying through an interpreter that to deter the use of nuclear weapons by Russia, NATO and the international community must take preventative strikes before the interpreter corrected themselves to say preventative action. So it was just an interpreter getting it wrong.
All right.
So you took what was fear-mongered on Tucker Carlson completely out of context, and there was context to it. That handy, guys. So do you see why it's bad to have such strong opinions about things that you might not be completely informed about?
I mean,
That's all I ask
get
people
it.
to do is be skeptical of their own bias, their own positions. I do this shit like all day goddamn long. All I consume is fucking news. And even I am deceived and let my own bias slip in.
I'm telling you, I mean, you probably do a lot more research than me. I'm an average American. I am a voter. I just talk about
and the
what
average
I see
American is
and my opinions on what I see.
goddamn fucking stupid and needs to stop being so sure of themselves.
All right. Well, is there any other topics you want to touch on from what I've said?
Ooh, yes,
or?
please. Give me another topic. Throw something else out.
Well, you throw something out. What would you like to hear an opinion on?
You said you were a libertarian. I really wanted to get into.
Yeah, well, I think
you probably
that-
want to cut
I think
regulations.
But,
Oh, yeah. Let's do this. Would you vote for Trump in 2024?
absolutely, 100%. If not Trump, then likely Tulsi Gabbard or Rand Paul, but Trump 2024.
All right, sell me on him.
Like, what do you mean?
Sell me on Trump.
I think Trump was one of the greatest presidents we've had, and I think he exposed a lot within the deep state just by being out of office. I mean, knowing that the FBI is doing everything they can, and not just the FBI, but Washington, the fact of doing everything they can to try to get this guy to not run shows me that they're scared of him for some really big reason.
Whoa, that is a really big fucking claim. That the FBI is against Trump?
Oh, I think so. I definitely believe so. The FBI is corrupt. I mean, we have an FBI director who was literally threatening parents at school boards not long ago as being domestic terrorists.
No,
I
man,
mean,
you need to stop getting your information from libs of TikTok and Tucker Carlson and the Daily Wire.
I
You
don't
live
follow
in
the
an
libs of
alternate
TikTok.
universe.
I also don't watch the Daily Wire. I think Ben Shapiro is annoying.
You're repeating the same shit all of them say.
I mean, it's legitimately true. They grilled him on it.
No,
They
you're
are
not.
against
No,
Trump.
not
The
legitimately
whole entire
true.
Deep state's against Trump. They're scared of
What
Trump.
you were referring to was some fucking wording in a field manual that right-wingers twisted and ran with and got all fucking outraged about. I covered it here on the show. Like, this idea that they're assaulting parents is nonsense. Meanwhile, I've watched video after video of parents legitimately getting physical at school board meetings, including assaulting doctors.
Okay, but that still doesn't excuse to just label parents in general as domestic
Nobody
terrorists.
did. Nobody. That's called a straw man argument. You are listening to right-wing propaganda, which is literally lying to you. Nobody was labeling parents terrorists.
Okay, so back onto Trump. Let's get back onto Trump.
Back
since
onto
you
the
asked me about
fact that
Trump.
you believe stupid fucking bullshit. There's no parents are
About
being labeled
what?
terrorists. But you know who is doing labeling? Like, anybody that defends the LGBTQ community gets called a fucking groomer. You want to know how I know?
Hey,
I can
you know
show you
what?
videos on my channel.
And as I've said earlier, that is where I disagree with a lot of conservatives. I'd never vote for Ron DeSantis, and I'd never vote for Greg Abbott for that very reason, because I think that they're showboats. I wouldn't vote for either one of them in a presidency. That's why I wouldn't pick Ron DeSantis.
But you would
people
vote for Trump. You don't
that.
like showboats, but you would vote for Trump.
Trump doesn't talk about LGBTQ plus that often. He barely ever brings up. In fact, it was never part
But
of
you
his
said
campaign
showboat.
in 2016.
Are you saying Trump
It
isn't a
was-
showboat?
I would say that he's a showboat, but not in the same way that some of the others are. He actually he basically trolls his candidates and exposes the crap out of it. That's what he did in 2016 with the Republican primary. And another thing about Trump is he actually has kept a lot of his promises. And one of the promises he kept, one of the big reasons I voted for him was in 2016, we had likely that whoever that president was going to be was likely going to get 3 or 4 appointees to the Supreme Court. And Trump promised us he would get us members on the Supreme Court who would overturn Roe v. Wade. He did it. Reagan
but you said you were for abortion rights.
No, I never did. I never said I was for that.
But you earlier you okay. You said LGBTQ, so you are against abortion rights.
I am against abortions unless in early term cases of rape and incest, and of cases if a mother's life is in danger. But outside of that, I am against abortions and I am pro-life.
That is one of the least libertarian fucking positions. Why do you think you would get to? Because you would agree that it's a morality call, right?
I would say morally and ethically. I would say depending on what term. Because with Roe v. Wade was not the court's. It was not the court's job to put Roe v. Wade into place. The courts were never. It was never their role to make laws. It was always the legislature.
Once again. Once again, you've been listening to right-wing propaganda. We were going to have to go back to the history of how Roe v. Wade came to be. First of all, there was a group of women who went and had a bunch of congressional hearings because they tried to get a law passed first. They had been affected by this chemical that was coming over from the UK. I don't have it handy. Oh, I do have it handy. Hold on. Right-wingers are morons. So they were being affected by this chemical that was coming over from the UK that was causing mass birth defects. So they were having kids that were being born and like living for a year or two in excruciating pain. So they go to Congress to try to get a law passed, and they couldn't. They couldn't actually clear the standard to. They couldn't clear the filibuster to pass the law. So then the Supreme Court takes up the case of, and we've covered the woman, Jane Roe. We actually the baby Roe. We actually heard her interview. We played that maybe 6 months ago or something like that, and let her tell all about her mom and shit. Because she said she was paid by the pro-life movement to switch her position, because of course she was. But the legal reasoning that Roe v. Wade was decided on was based on the 14th Amendment, that you couldn't violate a woman's right to privacy on behalf of a theoretical human, right? So a fetus doesn't have the same rights as a human does. So you can't violate a woman's right to privacy in her medical decisions on behalf of this theoretical being that doesn't have any kind of rights yet. So it set it at, well, I don't know, 24 weeks, or Casey might have set it at 24 weeks, whatever it was. But that was the legal reasoning behind it. And you're trying to say that they made laws, but that is right-wing bias.
Basically, first of all, what you said, the 14th Amendment does not give a woman a right to just kill their child willy-nilly. Doesn't do that. Doesn't give them that right.
Child has been born.
If you're having a late-term abortion all the way up to the birth,
well, late-term abortions only have this is how right-wingers are incredibly dishonest. Late-term abortions only happen in the exceptions that you mentioned earlier. So don't ever try that. Don't do. That was what Roe v. Wade.
Outside of the exceptions, were they legal outside of the exceptions with Roe v. Wade? Were they legal?
What?
With Roe v. Wade in place, was late-term abortions legal without that one exception of the mother's life being in danger? Because that's the only time I will ever accept late-term abortion. And rape and incest.
That's what Roe v. Wade did. Roe v. Wade and Casey together said that, and I can't remember is it 22 or 24 weeks, guys? Fucking the chat can correct me on that. They set it at 22, 24 weeks as the cutoff, and then after that, you could only have an abortion in the exception of the mother's life. That's what Roe v. Wade was.
All right, and why can't we have? Let me.
That
ask
that is what it
why
sounds like
have,
you were in favor of.
No, I don't think you're right about Roe v. Wade. I think
am.
that it was. What I hear is.
What you hear is bullshit from fucking right-wing idiots like Tucker Carlson.
You know, you're very quick to just call them idiots.
I am. Well, you say quick as if I don't sit here and watch them every fucking night on my show. Do you remember
again,
when you remember when you said that routers? You remember when like just this, and I didn't even bring them up. You did, and you called them left wing, and then you're wondering like I'm fucking quick to dismiss Tucker Carlson, who is literally on Fox News, the paid fucking arm of the GOP. Seriously, dude, apply the same standard that you apply to other shit. This is called cognitive dissonance. You're not a dumb person. You've just convinced yourself of some dumb fucking shit because you want to believe it.
Oh, yeah, by the way, I wanted to. I'm reading the chat. No, Tucker does not do that. He doesn't tan his balls. That documentary has nothing to do with that.
He sure as fuck promotes it, and that's the dumbest goddamn thing. He plays you guys. He plays you like a fucking fiddle.
So what's something that he's played us on outside of just what you claim you've already said? Give me something else.
I pointed it out with the Zelensky thing. I gave you the context. We looked it up. We got the context. Don't listen to fucking Tucker. And I can even, do you want me to pull up the fucking clip of Tucker saying that he's basically full of fucking shit? He describes what Bill O'Reilly was doing, and he's describing himself. This is a clip back in like 2006, 2007, and it's just exactly what Tucker Carlson is doing right now. It's insane. And you talk about globalists, he's insanely fucking rich. He's an heiress. Is that the right word for it?
Again, when I say globalist, I say I want to do things that only benefit our country. But if we benefit other countries, they have to benefit our countries. We can't just do things in other countries that don't benefit the U.S.
Let me tell you something that would benefit.
You remember
let me give you a proposal. Hold on, let me give you a proposal of something that would really benefit our country. We should take like the steel industry and we should nationalize it, and we should turn it into worker co-ops to where all the workers own the industry. That way the jobs never get shipped overseas. We should do the same with like Ford and Chevy. We should nationalize them, turn them into worker co-ops. You want to do it through stocks or whatever, give the unions a seat at the board. That way if the workers own the factory, they never ship the jobs overseas. We keep a strong manufacturing base here at home, and then supply chain issues don't become a factor when something like COVID hits.
So basically you want to unionize.
Well, I mean, like, okay, so there's different ways to go about things. Like, right-wingers always like to throw out, what is it, Sweden doesn't have a minimum wage? Or is it Switzerland? It's one of those Nordic countries, or Denmark. One of those fucking Nordic countries doesn't have a minimum wage. But what right-wingers never point out is that there's like one goddamn union, and the wage is far higher than what the government would set it. So, like, I'm for different ways of going about it. I think different industries, like, I don't understand, growing up in the coal fields of eastern Kentucky, how a company could own the coal in the ground. I think that sort of energy, oil, coal, natural gas, I think that should be ran by the government for the people, and the people should see residual checks like Alaska does.
Okay.
And then you don't get,
but basically,
but then you don't get like ExxonMobil fighting climate change policy like they have for the last 50 years, even though they knew climate change was occurring, and they even raised their own oil platforms.
I don't agree with a lot of climate change policy. They're going way too extreme with that.
What does that mean?
And I agree with them fighting against it. Well, the whole idea of wanting green energy and wanting solar and wind is wishful thinking. It's not as efficient as fossil fuels. We rely on fossil fuels, and even with green energy, like let's just talk about the electric car for a second. To make the electric car, you're putting more fossil fuels into the air just to make the car than running an electric conventional car by itself produces in over tons of years. Also, at the same time, electric cars are having issues down in Florida, especially. Some of these cars are blowing up.
Hey! Tesla being a shit company doesn't mean that electric car technology isn't the way to go.
Tesla's a garbage company. I hate Tesla, and I will never support that company. But
But
in general, we can't just get rid of fossil fuels. We can't just get rid of our energy. We cannot just get rid of it because
First of all, who in the fuck is saying let's just get rid of fossil fuels? Like you're straw manning your political opponents, and it's kind of annoying. That's why I hate right wingers so bad, because like they're like, oh, everybody want to get rid of fossil fuels. Nobody's saying that. You're arguing against something that's not happening.
All right, let's talk about.
But hold on. But like, you're acting like climate change isn't a fucking issue, and it is. Like, it floods in Miami on sunny days now. It's an issue.
Yeah, and the climate has changed back and forth throughout history for
not this drastically. Not this. Okay, do you know about the climate of Venus?
Yeah, it's hot. It's a mess.
Why is it hot?
Beats me. I'm not an astrologist.
I learned this. I learned this in like grade school. It's a thing called the runaway greenhouse effect.
Okay, let's say that there is a problem with climate change. Why would we spend so much money to get and try to rid of our current energy system for a system that is wishful thinking and likely is not going to be reliable?
Well, first of all,
why would we do that?
First of all, I take issue with your
ho. There's a great video.
Shut the fuck up. First of all, I take issue with your wishful thinking and blah blah blah. Like, you're making a lot of assertions. Let's dial it back here. How much money do you think we give the fossil fuel industries every year?
I think we give them a lot.
Do you know a number?
Because it's reliable energy. No, I don't have a number off the top of my head.
It's $6 trillion.
Okay.
Every year.
And do we need the energy? Yes. And is it reliable? Yes.
Do you know that ExxonMobil is one of the most profitable companies in the history of the world?
One of them, yeah. I do know that.
Why would we give them close to $3 trillion in a year if they're one of the most profitable companies? They're making record profits, by the way.
Again, I think we're changing the issue here. Again, I'm not talking about how much we pay a company. I'm talking about whether the clean energy that we're promoting.
Yeah, you're talking about some theoreticals out here, and I'm talking about specific policy.
I wanted to talk about specific policy. You say that they're not getting rid of our fossil fuels. Well, why then in New York and in California they are now making it illegal to sell gasoline cars, conventional cars? That's a policy of getting rid of what I would consider our normal energy, our fossil fuel energy, the war on energy.
I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about. If I had to guess, I would assume that it's, a phasing out thing.
No, they made two laws. They passed two laws, one in New York and one in California. New York just did it recently, where by a certain year, I think it's in the 2030s.
I just said phasing out, and you're like, no, it's not phasing out. But then you're like, by a certain year. Like, do you know
making
what words
it illegal
mean?
to sell conventional cars? That's not okay. That's not something I support. We should not be making a law trying to force people, because electric cars are not reliable, and I'm trying to explain that. I've got
by 2035. By 2035.
I would not drive an electric car in 2035. I would not. Absolutely not. I won't. I got a great video here.
Why?
So our electric car,
You've got some great propaganda that was probably paid for by the fossil fuel industry. Would you say that's a possibility?
Well, I think we're going to stop it before they even get to that point, because we're going to have Republicans take over pretty soon. But
yeah, you're just basing that on your fucking feelings. So here's one of the things. I'm from the coal fields.
I'll call you back.
I'm from the hold on. I'm from the coal fields of eastern Kentucky. Do you know what the concept of peak coal is?
No.
Okay, so peak coal means the first 50% of the coal that you can mine is relatively cheap to get to, right? Because it's the closest to the top. But then once you get down past the bottom 50%, it's further down in the ground. It's harder to mine out. Once you've passed that tipping point, you've gone past peak coal. The same thing is true with oil. Now, we've recently found some more oil reserves, which are going to keep us going for a few more years. In the last 20 years, we've discovered a couple more oil basins, a couple more natural gas basins that we didn't know existed. But we have still hit that peak oil mark. So your idea of gas prices like ever coming down to the equilibrium that they were before, that's out the window. That ain't happening anymore because we have gone past peak oil.
Recently gas prices went up was because of the massive spending bills that they were spending in Congress. That was what happened. It was
how does massive spending bill, which I don't even know, like you probably have no idea what was in that bill, but how does that bill have anything to do with OPEC?
Okay, well, let me I asked you the question. You haven't 100% answered it. How is it that gas prices rose so fast, so quickly over the transfer of power of one president to another? Because I want you to Google.
I will tell you exactly how that happened. I want you to Google oil company record profits.
Yeah, I did. Exxon alone reported a profit of $17.9 billion, highest quarterly profit reported by any oil company in history. While Chevron reported $11.6 billion, Shell reported $11.47 billion, and BP reported $8.45 billion.
So what does the president have to do with that? Are you saying that the president should set price caps for the gas industry or the oil industry?
Wait a second, I'm going to read it. I'm pulling up the article. Okay, here it is. The article is, yes, you can blame Biden for crazy gas prices. Here's why, by the New York Post.
The New York Post is owned by fucking Rupert Murdoch and Fox News. Fucking put down the goddamn opinion pieces, you stupid fuck. God damn it. How? Explain to me. Don't fucking New York Post. Explain to me how Biden has anything to do with oil companies making record profits. And what would you want the president to do? Are you saying he should set price caps? Are you saying we should nationalize the oil industry? What is your solution? Because the answer to your question of why the gas prices went up so high is they make record profits. They are gouging you. Biden is being friendly to business, which is, by the way, a right-wing position, being friendly to business. So, how do you fix that? I have a solution as a leftist over here.
What's the solution?
Nationalize the fucking oil industry.
All right. So again, I was going to read some of the stuff from this article, but I guess you don't care
From the
about
fucking
it.
New York Post. You're telling me fucking Routers is a left-wing rag that makes shit up, and then you're going to read to me from the New York Post. This is why I call right-wingers. Yeah. This is why I call right-wingers morons. Absolute fucking morons. Now, I go to the New York Post. They're actually really good about having, like, really the videos I want in stories that are like celebrity gossip shit. I'm not going to the New York Post for my goddamn political opinions. Idiot.
Okay.
Sorry.
Now, I want to go back to the electric car because I was trying to explain that. No,
I'm moving on. We're gonna go do
because I have the video here.
Because this is just
our electric cars.
I want you.
What do you want to move on to?
I want you to. Oh, I'm moving on to doing the news. I'm getting ready to hang up on you, but I appreciate you calling in. I want you to start applying the skepticism that you hear, that you use on other people's opinions to your own opinions. Still man your opponents. Don't straw man them. Be as generous as you can to your opponent's arguments. Don't try to make them look stupid. Oh, everybody's wanting to ban gas cars, blah, blah, blah. Properly represent your opponent's arguments, and then people will be kinder to you. Because it's frustrating. It is frustrating talking to people who are intellectually dishonest.
All right, well, you know what? I'll take that.
You may not know you're doing it. You may not know you're doing it just because it's so common in the political discourse and right-wing propaganda.
All right, well, I'll consider your thoughts. I'll work on it, and at some point in time, I'll call you back in the future, and we'll see if anything changes.
Absolutely. You have yourself a good evening. I appreciate you calling in, my friend.
You too. All right, you too.